Nano machine. Bai, ang Hongguolya. Chapter 69, I Will Do the Same to You, Part 1. Sword Art of the Sky Demon. One of the best sword arts, and the best sword art within the demonic cult itself. It was created by Chun Ma, nicknamed the Sky Demon, who was known for his talent in martial arts. He had risen above everyone else at the time. As time passed by, many sword arts were created to counter the sword art of the Sky Demon, and soon the demonic sword of the heavenly god was said to overpower it. Ho Jinchung's eyes flickered as he spoke. Yuan's sword movement had left a striking impression that he could not forget. Even Li Hamming was shocked to see such perfect sword movement. It's similar to the sword art of the Sky Demon, but it's much more. Li Hamming had seen the Lord use his sword art multiple times already, and thus he was able to conclude that Yuan's sword skill was better. Then how did Chen Yuan learn such sword skills? There was only one possible way. The pedestal. The pedestal in the library was known to hold secret regarding Father Chun Ma's last finding of the truth. However, the back side of the pedestal had been destroyed, so it was left in secret. One of the former lords thought the pedestal was useless, so he ordered it to place it in the library as a display. But the backside is damaged. Li Hamming had also looked at the backside of the pedestal multiple times, but he wasn't sure what it meant due to the marks all over it. Ho Jinchung then asked carefully, Chief, do you think his sword skill is from the ped? Instructor Ho. Li Hamming cut him off. Keep this as a secret between you and me for now. So, you are thinking of the same thing? Yes, sir. Li Hamming nodded. That was the only possible way for Yuan to have grasped the sword skill. After all, they had reached the same conclusion. It wasn't certain as to why Li Hamming wanted to keep this a secret, but maybe this would be better for Yuan. Most of the cadets dispersed to go about with their training, but not all of them had left. 2 cadets were left. One was a girl who had a round and cute face, but she was taller than most of the male cadets. If it wasn't for Ko Wonger, she would probably be the tallest amongst all cadets remaining in front of the building. Oh, she is? Ko Wonger knew her very well. She was the 222th cadet, Ho Sanghua, known to be one of the top 3 ranks in power out of the female cadets. Why is he blushing? Baki was curious about Ko Wonger's expression. Ho Sanghua walked up to Yuan and spoke politely. You were great just now, Prince Chun. I didn't think you would get Instructor Ho's tag. Congratulations. I was lucky. Thank you. Yuan pretended to not notice, but he was able to guess why she had come up to him. Let me be frank. I waited here because I want to join your team. After she saw Yuan fighting against Ho Jinchung, she thought Yuan was a worthy leader. If she became his teammate, that would increase her chances of passing the 3rd test. Yet Yuan didn't want a teammate just for the test. MS. Chen Yuan tried to say this, but Sanghua interrupted to speak first. Hold on. I want to ask you something first. Will you bring in any individual, no matter their gender, if they are talented? Ho Sanghua was serious. It seemed like she was mindful of the fact that she was a girl. Yuan couldn't just answer simply, but he already had the answer since a long time ago. If a talented individual wants to join me, then I have no reason not to accept. Gender or clan do not matter. Chen Yuan had been discriminated and bullied for not coming from the 6 clans. He wanted to overthrow such things from the start. I see. Ho Sanghua then took about 10 steps back and swung her wooden sword with a sword movement. Chen Yuan, Wonger, Baki, and Hubong all became intrigued. She was using the 7 demon sword. She has learned the 7 demon sword. Only a short amount of time had passed, but she was using the skill flawlessly. Her movements were top class. After showing the first sword movement up to the 5th, she came up to Yuan again and knelt down on one knee. I was touched by your sacrifice that you made for your servant. You said you will accept any individual no matter their gender or clan. If you accept me, I will prove that I am worthy. She spoke with confidence and strength. There was no reason to decline such an offer made from someone so confident and knew how to show their strength. My path will be treacherous and we might shed blood. Can you take that burden on yourself? I wouldn't say I wanted to join you if I wasn't ready for that. Chen Yuan then smiled and bowed. Thank you. Welcome to my team. Ho Sanghua then bowed and shouted, I, the 222nd cadet, Ho Sanghua, will pledge allegiance to Prince Chun for life. So, Chen Yuan had gained the first woman cadet on his team. And there was one who was overjoyed by this event. It was Ko Wonger. He was so happy that he couldn't hide his joy. Oh, this is awkward. And there was one more cadet who left. He was scrawny and had crumpled hair, and he had been excited over Yuan's fight more than anyone else. Do you have something to say? Yoan asked him. The cadet then became hesitant, and knelt down on both knees. I want to be on your team, Prince. And why did you hesitate? The cadet then scratched his head and embarrassingly answered, I have not learned the 7-demon sword yet. I wanted to prove myself to you, but I couldn't find anything to show. Chapter 70, I Will Do the Same to You, Part 2. He put down his head in embarrassment because he didn't have anything to show when Ho Sangwa had just showed off her power. She proved herself in such a cool way. Will Prince Chun accept someone like me? He wasn't a cadet from a clan that specialized in martial arts. His father was a mid-ranked warrior, and his family's martial arts was only at the 2nd level, which was weaker than most families. However, seeing Yoan's fights had given him hope to become stronger. Do you want to join me? I am weak, but if you accept me, I will serve you wholeheartedly. And I will do my best not to become a nuisance. The cadet's eyes were full of admiration, just like how Hubong looked at Chen Yoan now. It almost made him laugh. Are you weak? Yoan asked back, and the cadet became uneasy, thinking that Yoan would refuse. Yoan then smiled and bowed. You can always become strong. I am grateful that you want to join me nonetheless. Welcome. It was possible to become stronger, but having loyalty was not something that could be easily achieved. Oh. The cadet teared up because of the welcome. He then began pounding the ground with his forehead, bowing. Jean Guk, the eldest son of Jean family, hereby pledges allegiance to the prince. Thank you. Ko Wonger and Baki also saw Hubong's shadow in Jean Guk. However, Hubong himself thought that Jean Guk was going overboard and shook his head. With that, Yoan now had a total of 8 members with him. It was a total of 9 if Chen Yoan was included, so he only needed 3 more cadets now. I wish there were more who might be interested. Ko Wonger had expected more cadets to want to join their team. He had thought Yoan's reputation would go up by defeating Ho Jincheng and accepting Baki into the team, but Ko Wonger didn't know that it was too much for the cadets to trust fully Yoan, who had lost his leadership rights once. At least Master has the yellow tag now. We can get more cadets soon. There was a time limit in getting a yellow tag, but there was no time limit for getting teammates. Therefore, they didn't need to hurry. Yoan then looked around and asked Wonger, where are the others? He asked because he didn't see Ojong, Zhao Wumin, Machel, Wangchen, and Ho Daming. Wonger and Hubong frowned. Chen Yoan did not know anything about what had happened while he was gone. He didn't even know that Wangchen and Ho Daming had left him. Master, I think we should talk in private. Yoan nodded as he realized something had happened while he was gone by the look on Wonger's face. This place had too much foot traffic from the cadets and instructors, so they decided to move. The team then moved to the mountain at the back of the dormitory building. Machel and Zhao Wumin, who were out to recruit cadets, had joined them. They were happy to see Chen Yoan, and they were surprised to hear that Yoan had gotten a yellow tag right away. As they gathered at the mountain, Ko Wonger first told Yoan that Wangchen and Ho Daming had left. As their names came up, most of the members responded in anger. How dare they betray the master? It's good that we don't have them anymore. It's right to not have them if they cannot overcome such hardship. But Chen Yoan did not get angry. He just calmly listened and nodded. He already had expected some leavers in his group since he was the one who brought the situation upon them. Fortunately, no one else left the team and they still acted together. I thank all of you for staying with me to the end. I really appreciate it. Yoan got up and bowed to every member. Ko Wonger and the others were touched by that action. Master. Ko Wonger was able to confirm that his decision to stay with Yoan was right. So, the first issue was taken care of, but the next one was bigger. So, with that aside, where is Ojong? At Yoan's question, Hubong teared up. He still felt guilty for letting Ojong get hurt. The other cadets all seemed to be angry just by thinking of it. What had happened? Chen Yoan frowned, realizing there had been some serious problem by the looks of it. That's Baki, who had lost his yellow tag, tried to explain, but Ko Wonger shook his head. He carefully explained how Baki joined them, and how Ha Ilming ambushed and was stopped by Chen Yuchan. Wonger also told him how Ojong's fingers were snapped backward and he had bruises all over his body. Thus he had to be carried to the medical room, but Chen Yoan's eyes only turned sharp and cold. He didn't seem to be furious. He's different from before. Baki was surprised. If it was the same Yoan from the medical room 5 days ago, he would have been angry after hearing this. But now he just focused on listening to what had happened with icy eyes. It was foolish to be concerned about the possibility that Yoan might run after Ha Ilming for revenge. Yoan was angry, but he kept a cool mindset. He still hasn't fixed his ways. Ha Ilming always played with trickery. His actions weren't wrong as the academy itself supported the cadets fighting each other for the tags, but Ha Ilming didn't come for it himself. He brought over 30 people to mob them and that was too much. So master, what will you do? Ko Wonger asked since it was up to Chun Yoan now. They had gotten a yellow tag so they could just let it be, but they couldn't just forgive Ha Ilming and others for what they did. They were curious as to what Chun Yoan would decide to do. Yoan then spoke to them. We'll pay them back with the same thing. Chapter 71. I will do the same to you, Part 3. 2 hours ago. There was a big open space at the back of the larger training room building on the northeastern side of the academy. And in that space, about 20 cadets had gathered to practice 7 Demon Sword. They were not powerful like the other cadets, but they helped each other complete their sword skills. They were cadets from the former 12th group. They used to practice formations under Baki's guidance before the second test, but after the test, Baki left them. That's why they were now here without Baki and Chun Jongsum. Penghak, is it really okay for you to go alone? The 670th cadet, Galen asked as he was worried. Penghak was the one who attacked Baki from behind while fighting against Ha Ilming last night. Wu Penghak was the leader of the group now. I was told to go alone. We have no choice. Wu Penghak was also worried, but he couldn't ignore Chun Yuchan's warning. He had made a deal, so he had to go to receive the payment for keeping the promise. If we get the tag, we can create a team. Yes, but one tag will only make us fight against each other. They had 20 members, so having one yellow tag meant that 8 of them had to be cast out. This would surely create turmoil. Galen was right to be worried, but Penghak shook his head. But we can't just stand around and do nothing. Yeah. We have to do whatever it takes to survive. If we give up because we're weak, then it's over. Galen couldn't object to those words. They had contacted other group leaders with yellow tags, but it wasn't possible to join their groups. Most of them just accepted their former group members, so it was hard to find any empty spots in the first place. So, you think about looking after yourself too? Yes, but to sell out our former leader? I don't think it's right. The water has been spilled. There's no going back. And don't worry about the group. If I become a leader, I will ensure your spot, Penghak whispered and Galen frowned. It seemed that Penghak had misunderstood. Penghak then tried to walk out to meet with Yuchan. While he was trying to leave, someone came up to block him. Wait. Why you? It was Chun Yoan. He was now the most famous cadet within the academy. Yoan was also responsible for destroying Chun Jongsum's internal energy. Penghak was shocked to see Yoan. Why are you? What's the surprise? They didn't know Yoan was out of prison yet. But there was more. 7 more cadets appeared from the corner of the building. Hike. Wu Penghak was startled and he stumbled back a few steps. Ko Wonger, Baki, Ho Sangwa, Jia Wumin, Hubong, Machel, and Jin Guk were standing behind Yoan. Except for Ho Sangwa and Jin Guk who had joined the team today, the other 5 were furious. Be Baki. Penghak was mostly afraid of Baki. With a horrific look from his scar that ran across his eye, Baki's glare made it even more terrifying. Did you sell me out? Baki looked at Penghak with disappointment. They had overheard the conversation between Penghak and Galen from behind the building. It was understandable that they had launched an ambush to get the yellow tag since they were desperate to survive. But selling Baki out when he was their former teammate was something he couldn't accept. And Ojong had been severely injured in the process. Stop. Former 12th group members quickly ran up after realizing that Yoan and his members had appeared. Be Baki. Galen and the other cadets were also shocked to see Baki. They were worried as Baki was not badly injured, and there he was with his teammates. Are you here for revenge? Galen shouted while biting his lips. However, Ko Wonger answered instead. You ambushed us and thought you would not pay the price? Ko Wonger, who was almost twice as large as most of the cadets, roared at them. The 12th group cadets outnumbered Yoan's team, but they were afraid. We have more. We can win this. Penghak shouted at his members. Even yesterday, they were able to hurt Baki after outnumbering them. There was no way Baki would have recovered, so there was no reason for them to lose. But Chun Yoan is here too. The cadets couldn't attack however. This was different from yesterday. It was hard enough to deal with Baki alone, but they were now facing Chun Yoan who had crushed an instructor's rib cage. And Yoan was also infamous within the academy. I heard he destroys the internal energy if he gets pissed off. We can't fight him. He's sent so many people to the medical room. He's evil. It wasn't on purpose, but there were a lot of cadets who were afraid of Chun Yoan. And the cadets of the 12th group knew that one of their members, Chun Jongsum, had his internal energy destroyed. That was what made them even more afraid. Fools. We have much more people than them. Penghak became frustrated at his members. Yoan then spoke to him coldly. You are the foolish one. How dare you say such a thing in front of me? What? At that instance, Yoan quickly closed in on Penghak. It was so quick that Penghak couldn't do anything as Yoan grabbed his wrist. Yoan then grabbed the right wrist with his left and punched Penghak's stomach. Control. Control. He tried to go easy as best as he could, but... Arg. As his fist struck the stomach, Penghak's eyes grew wide and he spat blood out from his mouth. His body was also thrown up about 3 meters into the air, and flew all the way back. Ugh. I tried. Chapter 72, I Will Do the Same to You, Part 4. He tried to use only half of his power, but it was still monster-like. At least it was weaker than when he destroyed Jongsum's chin and teeth. The 12th group cadets became pale after seeing Penghak getting thrown away with one punch. Penghak had gained top-class internal energy after consuming the Black Dragon Ball, but he couldn't even endure one fist. Penghak! Galen shouted at Penghak, who was thrown back. He sat there unconsciously with bubbles foaming at his mouth. We cannot fight him. Most of the cadets were either similar or weaker than Penghak. They had Ha Ilming, who was almost equal to Baki when they fought yesterday, but no one else could deal with Yoan. You want to keep going? Yoan threatened the 12th cadets. All of them then shook their heads in fear. They couldn't even bear to think about fighting Yoan, Baki, and Ko Wonger all together. We surrender. Galen, who was next in line in terms of rank, made a declaration. Hubong then ran up with reddened eyes and grabbed Galen's collar. Where is it? What are you talking about? Where is the tag that you took from us yesterday? Ojong had tried to protect it with his life even when his fingers were snapped back. If they didn't get that back, Ojong's sacrifice would have been for nothing. Galen spoke bitterly. 108th Cadet. Ha Ilming has it. It's as we expected. Ko Wonger sighed to Yoan. They had expected this already, as Ha Ilming probably wouldn't have given the yellow tag to these people. Damn it. Ugh. Hubong then threw a punch at Galen's face. It wasn't all that powerful like Yoan's, but it was enough to bruise Galen's right cheek in blue. Hubong then pushed Galen down and tried to pummel him, but Baki stopped him. Stop. Don't stop me. Are you protecting him because he was your teammate? No. I have something I want to ask first. Back off. Baki had no intention to stop him. He was a former team leader of these people, but he knew what was at stake here. Their actions were unacceptable. Galen. Baki. Galen wiped the blood dripping from his mouth and looked up at Baki before he averted his gaze. He had tried to dissuade Penghak and the other cadets, but he failed and eventually ambushed Baki together with them, so he couldn't look into his eyes. You said you all sold me out. What does that mean? I'm sorry. You've already done it, so don't give me that bullshit. Who did you make a deal with? Galen hesitated for a bit and answered, Chun Yuchan from the Blade clan made the offer. Chun Yuchan? Yoan was surprised to hear Chun Yuchan's name. He thought it was strange when he heard that Yuchan had helped Baki, but he didn't think Yuchan would be involved in such a way. Prince Chun Yuchan told us to attack you, take your tag, and put you in danger. What? He told you to attack me? Baki was dumbfounded. He thought he owed Yuchan for helping him out the other night, so he didn't think it was all planned from the beginning. So, you were promised to be given a yellow tag for it? Yes. They sold Baki for their own good. Since Baki had now found out about this, the 9 cadets who ambushed together couldn't hide their embarrassment. Baki, I'm sorry. Bastards. Baki couldn't forgive them, so he walked away. He didn't even feel the need to beat them up on his own. Humph. Hubong then began pounding Galen's face. He was going to make Galen become like Ojong. Nobody thought to stop Hubong, and Galen too didn't even moan. Wait a second. Not again? This time, it was Ko Wonger who stopped him. Hubong, who was drenched in sweat, responded with an annoyed voice. Ko Wonger placed his hand on Hubong's shoulder and sent a telepathic message. Will you be satisfied at beating up just one man? Hubong then became surprised and looked back at Wonger. Trust me. I will bring out everything. Ko Wonger sent his messages confidently and Hubong nodded before he stepped aside. Wonger then spoke to Galen, who was on the ground. 670th Cadet. Do you trust what Yuchan had promised you? What do you mean? Do you really think Chun Yuchan will give you a yellow tag? Galen's eyes shook. He too had been suspicious of this ever since. They had fulfilled their part of the deal, but he didn't believe in it from the beginning. He promised us. Since there are 20 of you, he must have promised to give you 2 tags. That's. He didn't say he would give 2. But he couldn't tell the truth in front of everyone since it would surely cause problems. Did he say he would give only 1? Ko Wonger accurately guessed the situation and Galen was baffled. The cadets who didn't join the ambush yesterday frowned at once. What is he talking about? You told us that we would be on the team. Wu Penghak had assured the members that even if they didn't join the ambush, they would all be together. However, if they only got 1 tag, the outcome was obvious. There were only 2 spots left for the cadets who didn't join the ambush, so it was bound to end up in a fight. Cadets from the 12th group then turned to Wu Penghak and Galen angrily. Ko Wonger bitterly said, "You all were used and are trying to turn back on yourselves now." Used? What are you talking about? Do you think Chen Yuchan did not know this would happen if he only gave 1 tag? If you fight against one another, you are playing right into his hands. Wonger explained it calmly and the cadets gritted their teeth. If Chen Yuchan had really used them, then they were just pawns who played under his feet. Ko Wonger then smiled to finish what he started. Are you all angry? If you are, then you must get revenge. Chapter 73, I Will Do the Same to You, Part 5. 2 hours later, Galen and the 12th group cadets were serious as they aimed their wooden swords. Their furious glares were directed at Yumpa while they were actually angry toward Chen Yuchan, the prince of the Blade clan who was behind all this. We almost were used and thrown away. It was shocking as it was as Wonger had said. They didn't think they were being used, but after meeting with Chen Yuchan, everything became clear. For Chen Yuchan, the other cadets were only pawns in his game. Unless they were talented like Baki, he didn't think much about the others. What are you doing? Yumpa asked Galen. He was facing cadets from the 12th group who had made a deal with Chen Yuchan to get a yellow tag. But what was this hostility? Humph. You think you can keep using us for the yellow tag? I don't follow. You still think us as fools? Galen shouted angrily and Yumpa narrowed his eyes before he turned to Chen Youan. So, someone's pulling tricks on you. Ha! Look who's talking. Hu Bong scoffed at Yumpa's words. You can't even get a tag from an instructor, so you ambushed us during the night. Who's pulling the tricks? Hu Bong shouted and Youan's members also smirked as they nodded. Ho Sanghua and Jean Guk also heard about what had happened, so they had disgust in their looks also. Ha Ilming was furious after hearing such words however. His face was red with anger and he glared at Hu Bong. You ran from us like rats, and you dare speak to us as weaklings? Ha Ilming shouted and Ko Wonger burst into laughter. Ha ha ha. This is a great one. Ha Ilming, then I'm sure you will never run away from us then. Oh, but we have no intention to let you run anyway. Ko Wonger threatened him and Ha Ilming's face turned grim. Damn it. With the 12th group cadets turning their backs on them, the situation had turned upside down. Ha Ilming's group was now trapped. He needed at least twice the number of Youan's team to defeat them, but they were outnumbered. What happened? If he knew this would happen, he would not have sided with Yumpa. Fighting against them when being outnumbered meant they had no chances of winning. Ugh, should I run? But he had a chance to run away if he ran alone, but this meant that he had to abandon all of his teammates. They'd probably never join Ha Ilming's team again. There were no options left for him. Damn it. Yumpa was also in the same situation. He knew there was no chance of winning here, but if he failed again, then he was going to lose the final chance to stay by Chen Yuchan. I have to persuade them no matter what. Yumpa then hid his frustration and turned to Galen to softly speak to him. Galen. I think there's been a mistake. Don't you trust Prince Chen Yuchan as his servants? If you get fooled by such tricks, will you give us 2 tags then? What? If he wants all of us, he'll need at least 2 tags so that all of us can pass the test. The leaders who had yellow tags could only recruit 11 members on their team. The 12th group cadets had 19 members, so they needed 2 tags in order to include everyone. Yumpa bit his lips. He couldn't make false promises that Chen Yuchan did not allow. However, if he failed to persuade them, then his mission was over. Let's do this. I'll ask Prince Chen to let you guys get 2 tags. Doing this meant that he wouldn't be lying. He was going to ask, but he wouldn't be able to do anything if Yuchan refused to do so. Please, please. It was a hard offer for the 12th group members to refuse. If they defeated Yumpa and Ha Ilming right here, they were only going to get 1 tag. Galen also seemed to be interested. It almost worked. Come on. Yumpa smiled. Galen hesitated a bit and asked, It sure seems like a good deal, but can you take it? Yumpa didn't understand his question. Take what? Take this. Huh? The sound came from his behind and Yampa turned. It was Chun Yoan, who appeared behind him and threw his fist. I have to dodge it. Yampa had already felt Yoan's terrifying physical power. It was apparent as to what might happen if he were to get struck down. Yampa then threw his body backward to dodge it. Bastard! You're mine! Ha Ilming, who considered Yoan's action of attacking Yampa first as an act of ignoring him, quickly swung his wooden sword in anger. It contained 70% of his internal energy, which would crush a human's head if it landed, but... What? Ha Ilming was shocked. His wooden sword was simply caught by Yoan's left hand. Ha Ilming unleashed his energy to pull it away from Yoan. What? It won't even move. He couldn't get it out of Yoan's grasp. There was no way for Ha Ilming, who didn't even have 60 years worth of internal energy, to fight against Yoan who had 90 years worth of energy. Is that it? Arg. You. He couldn't understand. There wasn't that much difference in internal energy before, but it was different now. Their energy battle didn't last too long. No. As Yoan clenched it, the wooden sword shattered into pieces. Ha Ilming suddenly let go of the sword and attacked Yoan with his finger instead to complete the sword skill. That's when someone kicked him from the side. Chapter 74, I Will Do the Same to You, Part 6. Arg. Ha Ilming was pushed away, and it was Baki who kicked him. Ha Ilming got up and winced at the pain. Damn it, it's broken again. It hadn't been long since he had recovered from the broken right rib he got from Yoan, and now it was left rib. Baki provoked him. You fight with me. How dare you ambush me? Ambush? I'm just doing the same thing you did. Ha Ilming was furious, but he couldn't find words to object, as he too had gotten the upper hand last night due to Wu Penghak's attack to get Baki. Everything he did was coming back to him. It's too late to run anyway. He had no choice but to fight. Ha Ilming then shouted at his group members. Fight. Eh. His members then charged with their wooden swords. Huh? However, Ha Ilming became dumbfounded because they only attacked the 12th group cadets who were behind them. What are you doing? Ha Ilming shouted angrily, but his members were only focused on attacking the 12th group members. It was because the 12th group was blocking their way out of this place. Ha Ilming's members were only focused on escaping from this place. They didn't want to take on a monster Chun Yoan and his friends. From what they could see, it was likely that they would get beaten up badly if they didn't run. Take this. Baki then kicked multiple times, leaving a bunch of hits. Ha Ilming was angry at his members who were trying hard to run away, but he couldn't ignore Baki's attacks either. Damn it. Ha Ilming proceeded to assume defensive movements to defend against Baki's kicks. Shall we make a move then? Ko Wonger flexed his muscles and jumped out. Hu Bong, who had been waiting to get his revenge, also charged angrily. It's my first fight. Heh. Ho Sanghua smiled satisfyingly. Unlike her round and cute face, her aura made her seem rough and aggressive. Why, you are more aggressive than you look. Jean Guk was stunned by the large group fight. We should go too. It's time to get payback. Jia Wumin shouted and Ho Sanghua, Machel, and Jean Guk charged at Ha Ilming's group members. A total of 40 cadets were now fighting each other. The fight was very one-sided since Ha Ilming's members were trying to run away while Yoan and the 12th group members were chasing them furiously. Yampa was appalled since he had wanted to avoid this situation at all costs. If he had gotten more cadets to fight back, this would not have happened. Yampa stepped back, but Chun Yoan walked toward him like death itself. You think you can run? I didn't think I would see this happen. That's what you get for playing tricks. It was foolish to think that Yoan would get caught up in Chun Yuchan's tricks. From the aggressive aura coming out from Yoan, it seemed it wasn't possible for Yampa to run. Arg. Ha Ilming's team members were falling down one by one. They were outnumbered and overpowered, so it was inevitable. Ha! Baki's continued kicking pounded Ha Ilming's chest. Ha Ilming tried his best to fight back, but with his broken left rib, he slowed down and he now had no way to defend himself against Baki's kicks. I failed. There's no way. Ha Ilming, Yampa's only hope, was even losing. The fight had already been decided. Further resistance only meant more injuries. Yampa then thought of the only possible choice. If I can't defeat him. Yampa then threw his sword onto the ground and kneeled in front of Yoan, surprising the other party. Yampa then placed his head down on the ground and spoke politely. You win, Prince Chun. It was a declaration of surrender. He had lost once, so Yampa knew he had no chance against Chun Yoan anyway. Therefore, he chose to surrender to keep himself safe. It's not over yet. It was almost over, but the fight was still ongoing. But with their brains and culprit Yampa giving up without even trying, Yoan felt disgusted. No, it is over. We have already lost. Please show us mercy that befits an heir to the throne. Those were polite words, but they were disgusting in context to even mention the candidacy to the throne. Phew. Chun Yo-won sighed. He's angry, but he will not attack someone who is on the ground, asking for mercy? He. Yumpa was facing the ground so no one could see his expression, but he was smiling. If Yo-won, the leader, made a decision here, then the fight would be over. Yo-won was also one of the heirs, so Yumpa thought Yo-won would not attack a man who had given up. Mercy? Yo-won shook his head and crouched down. He then yanked Yumpa's hair, hard. Arg. Yo-won pulled it up, and Yumpa's head followed with it. His face showed that he was in pain. Arg. What are you doing? I just surrendered. Surrender? If you didn't want to fight, you shouldn't have started this from the beginning. Yo-won then clenched on his hand. And no. This can't be. Yumpa became terrified and tried to squirm out of Yo-won's grasp, but he couldn't. It was as if he was stuck under a giant rock. Wait. Shut up. Arg. He then was thrown onto the ground face down. His face was stuck into the ground halfway with blood pouring out from it. Yo-won then whispered to the flinching Yumpa, "You will pay the price for hurting my friends."